Okay, so write it down. Our goal here is to subtract fractions. It's not that bad. If you're able to understand how we're able to add fractions, subtracting works in a similar manner. Okay, so let's say 6 3/5 minus 4 1/2. What would you get? If you want to pause this video and try to figure this out first, go right ahead. Okay. Now, the first thing that jumps out at me is that these two do not have the same common denominator. So, remember that to add or subtract fractions, you need common denominators. Okay? So, to add, subtract fractions, you need common denominators. Let me make that red so that we'll remember this easier. Denominators. I like saying this word here. Common denominator. So, to find out what the common denominator is, sometimes I trip over saying this word, you need to find the least common multiple. Okay, so let's find the least common multiple, the LCM of 5 and 2. 5 and 2. Okay, so let's look at the multiples of 5. You have 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 4 is 20, 5 times 5, well, you get the idea, is whatever. Okay, let's look at the multiples of 2. You have 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10, right? And on and on and on. What's the smallest number that 5 and 2 have in common? What I see here is 10. Okay, hopefully you get the same thing. So the least common multiple of 5 and 2 is 10. This is the number that we're going to use as our denominator when we write equivalent fractions. Okay, so step 2, write the equivalent fractions of these two guys here. Okay, so 6 3/5 is equal to 6 and what over 10? Okay, 5 times what is 10? So 5 times 2 is 10. So take 3 times 2, I get 6. Okay, we're halfway there. Let's look at 4 1/2. 4 1/2 is equal to what? Is equal to 4 and what over 10? Okay, so take 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, cool, right? Now we have common denominators, which is 10. We can subtract these two mixed numbers. 6 minus 4 is 2. Let's leave the denominator the same, it's 10. And then take 6 minus 5 is 1. Okay, check to see if the top is bigger than the bottom. It's not. So this is our final answer. Simple as that. I like it. Okay, so hopefully you can understand that. Before we go on to look at how we can multiply and divide, I want to look at one instance where the number might not be so perfect. So before we go on, just want to see if you know how to simplify these numbers here. These fractions, okay? If you see a question like, what is 3 over 3? Okay, 3 over 3 is the same as 3 divided by 3, which is equal to 1. Okay, if you see 12 over 12 and it says simplify, what would you get? Okay, remember fraction bar means divide. So this here means 12 divided by 12 is 1. Easy, right? What about 7 over 7? Fraction bar means divide. 7 divided by 7. If you're not sure, punch it into the calculator. And you ought to get 1. Okay. Just go ahead and check it just to make sure. Because we're going to need that information to solve our next example here. Okay. Remember, you can pause the video at any time if you need extra time or just catch your breath. Grab a drink of water, refreshments just to freshen up. Okay. So if you see a question that says subtract 7 1/3 minus 4 1/2, what would you get? Okay. First thing first, check for common denominators, and we don't have it. So we need to find the least common multiples of 3 and 2. Okay, so let's do that. Step 1, to get the common denominators, let's find the LCM, the least common multiple of 3 and 2. Okay.